it goes away like that.
Tony, did Mrs. Furlwine tell you that you're not supposed to ever have the camera on me?
Or me.
Well, yeah.
Witness protection.
That's all those guys want.
Mistake.
Yeah.
You'll do it next time.
He does what he's told, so that, I throw him off there.
Are you doing men's league this year?
I am.
Thursday nights?
Thursdays.
Who's your partner?
Jimmy Hunt.
Oh, boy. There'll be trouble.
It's a good way to get him out there. He is out there a whole lot.
He hit his first hole-in-one with me.
Did he really?
Yeah, number 3 at Elmwood we were playing.
Hi, Karina.
Hey, Jimmy, he hit his first hole-in-one. Boy, he was excited.
Oh, yeah.
We made him buy.
That's good. We had our reunion. We have this grudge match, and it's Gary Walgasper against him and Maddox. And we were way down after 9, and then we came scoring back on the back 9 within 2 strokes with 2 holes to go. And Gary and I were both within 10 feet on 17 and birdie. And so we're just, this is gonna be awesome. One at 18. Jimmy literally hits a 50-foot sidewind
Goes in.
one knot on the leading ball that went in, cost us $50. And so we hear about that regularly. He's a pretty good golfer. He just doesn't play very much. So this letter that we attached, that I sent a letter out.
Yeah, I've seen all kinds of comments.
Somebody
Ames Tribune.
Somebody decided it'd be a good idea to send it on to the Des Moines Register.
Yeah, I saw that got story
Which
there.
was pretty disappointing because it was an administrator that had done that.
You don't know who?
No, I might find out.
It's fine. Whatever. So what?
Yeah, it's just,
The comments I've read have been all the way from you're a bunch of crybabies to yeah, probably good position. You know, so
I've got nothing to do with comments from our folks.
yeah. So what?
Yeah, it's just disappointing that, you would send that as a courtesy, before boards start talking about it. Someone would feel like that was necessary,
Yeah, it's almost like those newspapers got a copy before I got a copy.
Oh, yeah, well, they did.
Yeah.
No, well, not really, because I had it as part of news and notes.
Yeah.
But had I waited just to have it as part of the board agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Did Nico contact you?
I have not heard from him.
So, not too bad. You can't dance. Can't dance. And one police officer told me to put my mask up on the sidewalk when I'm walking on the
I
sidewalk.
do have a text now.
Yeah, I shut it down. I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you, but on another day I might. I might flash you my vaccination card and tell you I'm outside. But today, I won't go to jail.
You want to bang us in?
Of course, what you said.
Thank you. You're getting very good at that. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the time and the place for the regular meeting of the Marshalltown School District Board of Education on March 1st. Welcome to all of you who are with us, and welcome to those who will be watching us on delayed broadcast or on live stream. Allow me to introduce the people at the table with me. Beginning on my right, Karina Hernandez. Sean Heitman. To my left, Jan McGinnis, Mike Miller, and Sarah Faltis. At the center table with me to my right is Paulette Newbold, the board secretary, and to my left is Dr. Theron Schutte, the superintendent of schools, and I'm B. Niblock. We have a pink sheet on the speaker's table for you to sign up if you would like to address the board during public comments. You'll have 5 minutes to address the board. We will not be able to reply to your comments at this time according to board policy, but we thank you for your comments. Please read with me the mission of the Marshalltown Community School District. We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through
personalized learning experiences.
And stand as you're able and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
Yes, we have one in personnel, 2.02, resignation of Mike Mann, the head wrestling coach, effective for next season. And then 501, new agenda item, which is a short video from Jamie Vollmer that's timely with us heading into the budget season.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Heitman, Hernandez, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. The motion carries 6-0. Mr. Sodders, you have quite a list today.
Boy, that's a big trophy.
Isn't it?
So yes, we have an incredible amount of recognitions to give tonight. The first one is our boys MHS bowling team. They were able to take home the championship here last week during the state tournament. So they won in Class 3A, and they are here this evening. Do you guys want to come up and introduce yourselves? Coach DJ Wilder is here as well.
Hi, I'm Coach DJ Wilder. I am the head coach for the team. This is my third season. I've been very blessed to be part of this program. I thank you so much for the recognition this evening. I will probably just go down the line here. First up is my son, Andrew Wilder, is a junior. Aaron Rattay, sophomore.
You want to
Yeah,
go
fan out
this
a little
way
bit,
so
guys.
that we can...
Damon
everybody.
Borton was next here. He was also a sophomore. Xander Pickett, junior, and Dimitri Furno, junior. And then my assistant coach, Dustin Peterson. He's a senior, I guess, whatever. As you heard, you didn't hear any seniors. I'm not losing anything from this team this year. So at least for one more year, the future looks a little bright. I'm very happy and pleased to hear about that. 3450 was our final score. That was the high for all three classes. And it was the high for us all year long by 200 pins, if I'm not mistaken. So we did it at the right time. We peaked at the end of the season like we always want to do, and very impressed with all of them on an individual level. Dimitri finished second in individual scores. Damon finished fifth. Xander had a 255 game, if I'm not mistaken. Aaron, he had a big 2-4-8-10 split conversion, which really kind of propelled our momentum. We thought we'd lost it a little bit when he left the split, and then he picked it up, which got the momentum right back. And then Andrew, in a Baker system, he, out of 10 balls that he threw, he had 9 strikes. So all of them contributed in many different ways to the championship. And we had another bowler that isn't here tonight, Dylan Cooper. He finished just outside of the top 10. He finished at number 11. So They all bowled really well, very proud of all of them, and I couldn't be happier that you're all coming back, right? I mean, we're not, okay, perfect. I didn't want to speak out of line there, but just a great group of kids. Just to speak real quick, I'm also the girls' coach. Along with the boys, we both won conference, and we won the conference invite up at Fort Dodge. Both teams did, so girls, even though they didn't make it to state, they had a pretty successful season as well. They set a team record, a school record this year for their scores, 27-57. So they had a real successful season too. Just didn't get the outcome that they wanted at the end. So anybody have anything you want to share? Anything I missed? Captains? Coach? Ryan, you want the mic?
Yeah, to speak on Aaron's split, I think when he picked that up, I knew it was going to be our day. I mean, that was just all the momentum. I've never seen that before. That was awesome. There's a video of it out there somewhere, I know. But, yeah, these guys, a lot to be proud of. I know our coaches, especially this year, have had a lot of challenges with COVID restrictions, and the kids have done a great job with that. And we want to thank the Wayward Social, of course, for without Wayward, we don't have a bowling team. So we're grateful for the relationship there, the Busby family and Linda for everything they've done. We hosted the district qualifying meet there. And of course, we got matched up with Waterloo West, who was the state champion last year. And we were runner-up, and we drew lanes, and then we got put on the same lane next to each other just by coincidence. So, and then of course, like Coach DJ said, these guys just peaked at the right time and brought home a state championship. And we are extremely fortunate to have every one of them back next year. So we look forward to that. And like DJ said, our girls also had an outstanding year too, winning the conference. And so again, look out for these guys next year because we know they're going to be back. So.
We look forward to seeing you again next year.
That's going to be the work, and obviously the message right now to the kids is, they're coming for you. I mean, there's teams out there. We had a team from Davenport Central that had a freshman on the team. He shot the state record at the state tournament. Average is 180. He shot 276 and 285 or something like that. So there are kids out there that. And Marshalltown, whenever you say Marshalltown in the bowling community, they want us, and so we got to get back to work as soon as we can, and that's the focus going into next year. So, but appreciate your time again this evening, and go Bobcats!
Congratulations.
All right, so our next recognition, and unfortunately, two of the students were not able to make it to be here to read their essays tonight, but we do have Miss Hasleen Valdovinos. She's right back here, and she is the second place winner of our this year's What Does the Flag Mean to Me contest, hosted by the American Legion annually. So, Hasleen, do you want to come up and read for us? Got her essay ready. There we go.
What the flag means to me. The American flag is used to represent our nation. It is said that Betsy Ross sewed the first American flag. Until 1950, we have represented our nation with our current flag. The 50 stars represent the 50 states, and the 13 stripes represent the 13 colonies. In my own words, the flag represents freedom, justice, and peace for everyone in the United States of America. What does it mean to me? This means that any immigrant who wants to live in a better life in the United States are always welcomed. My parents were immigrants that lived in Mexico.
Yeah, we can't hear that.
Can you speak?
Why don't you give her the handheld?
Is the mic on?
Oh, there. It's on.
Yeah,
it is.
maybe she can use the handheld one and hold it right up.
Here, I'll have you hold this one.
Mask. We want to be able to hear your good work.
There you go. And
Want to
then
get it super close.
Yep, and can you start from the beginning so we can hear your essay? Okay, thank you so much.
What does the flag mean to me? The American flag is used to represent our nation. It is said that Betsy Ross sewed the first American flag. Until 1950, we had represented our nation with our current flag. The 50 stars represent the 50 states, and the 13 stripes represent the 13 colonies. In my own words, the flag represents freedom, justice, and peace for everyone in the United States of America. What does it mean to me? It means that any immigrant who wants to live a better life in the United States are always welcomed. My parents were immigrants that lived in the United States, so lived in Mexico, so they moved to the United States for a better life. Families from all over the world have come here to live a better life. In the name of justice, this means that anyone is allowed to speak up for themselves. Over the past years, many people have been fighting for justice in this country. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Susan B. Anthony fought for justice and rights for everyone in our nation. People all over the world deserve to live in a nation where they can live with justice and rights. The United States is a country where many immigrant families would want to live in peace. Peace includes friendship, family, and living. People that can't find peace in their country find a better country, migrate to find better homes. I recommend people who are migrating to come to the United States in order for peace. All of these things are what the flag represents to me because of what the flag shows me. My thoughts of why the flag represents freedom, justice, and peace is because it has been shown around the United States. The flag can represent different things for the people who participated, but this is what the flag represents to me.
Very well done. Some marvelous words.
Thank you.
Let me out of here.
All right, and for our final recognition tonight, we want to give a lot of thanks to our local Walmart Supercenter, and in particular to Mr. Scott Ferguson. He's pictured there, and our great B&G folks who went to the store this last week and unloaded thousands and thousands of pencil boxes, pens, lots and lots of hand sanitizer wipes, all things that are, as we know, really, really essential to classrooms this school year. So that's awesome. I believe the donation was equivalent to about $5,000 worth of supplies. So it's excellent. And we really thank Scott and Walmart for that.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Moving on to the consent agenda. Looking at the minutes for February 15th, are there any additions or corrections? Personnel items, are there any items of note?
Mr. Isgreg's going to speak.
Yeah, obviously a note with Coach Mann resigning as head wrestling coach, and Coach Mann and I had some conversations over the last month, so this wasn't over a huge shock to me at least. And I know he informed Dr. Schutte today about it, and Mike was great to work with, even though I was only worked with him for 2 years, but that's obviously going to be a big loss, some tough shoes to fill with the new coach, but he was extremely appreciative of all the support, especially for the school board, Dr. Schutte, to get that new wrestling room built. And we hope that will attract some good candidates going forward. But we wish Coach Mann the best, and I know he won't be a stranger at all to the wrestling program. You know, you'll still probably see him working meets and still involved with the wrestling program in some way. So again, wish Coach Mann the best. The wrestlers had a great season, and we had 2 wrestlers who made the podium at the state meet last week. So Carson Williams and Julian Gomez. Carson got 6th and Julian got 7th. So a great way for Coach Mann to go out, and again, we wish him the best.
Thank you. Looking at interagency agreements and contracts, we have a number of special education student agreements. Looking at open enrollments, we have a few for the remainder of this year. And for next school year, we have 9 out and 4 in. Are there any items of note in bills? We have 1 early graduate from MLA. In addition to the donation from Walmart that you were just, Mr. Sodders just shared, we have a donation in the amount of $1,000 from the Johnson Family Foundation to assist with the pool lights at the high school. Are there any questions on any of those items? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Baltus, Heitman. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. The motion carries 6-0. Anybody on the list?
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Kretzinger.
Good evening.
Hello.
With me tonight is Kim Hagan. She's the clinical director at Center Associates, and we just wanted to take a few minutes to keep you updated on our ongoing work to support the well-being of our employees, our students, and our staff members. Recently, we know that this time of year is really difficult for staff. You know, on a good year, when you hit that period of time between the holiday season and spring, you have gray skies every day, cold weather. Born and raised in Iowa doesn't matter. It really just does get a little bit bleak for people. Now, we add on the effects of the tornado, we add on the effects of derecho, and then the COVID-19 pandemic that has expanded a year now. And we know that people are struggling, and we're trying to be supportive of them. So in partnership with Center Associates, we've been doing 3 current efforts to try to continue to support our people. This past week, we did a live stream event where the therapists at Center Associates provided an opportunity for the public to hear about what could be happening to them, characteristics to look for, and then some suggestions on if you see these types of situations, how do you address them, or how do you get more support. To date, we've had just over 350 people either attend the live stream event or view it online through social media, so that's really encouraging to me. The second thing we're trying to do at this time is we're calling them lunch and learns, but they're, I don't know if that best captures it. But essentially, the therapists at Center Associates are working with the building principals to find a time so that they can be together and help support staff in whatever questions or situations they may need at this time. And then the third one, we have brought back the video series. If you remember from the summertime, we had created a series of mental health videos to try to give information out to the community and staff members on how they can get support and things to watch out for, and how do you have a healthy, active lifestyle so you can maybe lessen or cope with some of the ongoing situations that this may be causing. And so we're working on that currently as well. Those are just our updates, and Kim is here in case you guys have questions, since she really is the brain power behind it.
Questions from the board?
If a student or staff member has a need, where do they go?
I can talk about our district side, and then Kim can talk about it at the center. So if it's an employee, we can usually work through either a phone call to myself or HR where we can talk about the employee assistance program. That would be the first pathway. They can also make direct calls to a place like Center Associates, and Kim can talk about that.
And Center Associates actually takes the district's EAP, so we would be willing to do that and see those staff members at the center. And then
The district's what?
Employee Assistance Program.
Thanks.
Yep. So we can serve staff in that manner.
As for our students, they tend to work through our school counselors or the building administration. That's one pathway where they can get connected with an agency like Center Associates. Another way is that they can directly call Center Associates and work through that, and I'll, again, let Kim talk about that.
And we do have therapists in each of the buildings as well. So we see students in all of the buildings in Marshalltown and weekly. So, and then also just calling the center and scheduling an appointment would be an option as well.
And all of this is paid for by the district, so it doesn't go against somebody's co-pays or health insurance? Is that the case?
With district employees, there is a certain number of sessions they can go through employee assistance that's covered by the district, and then beyond that, that would go on against your copay.
Okay. And what about students?
As for students, it depends on their situation. Every year during our at-risk conversation, the board approves a grant that supports students who struggle to have the money to do the copay part of going to a place like Center Associates. So some families pay a full copay. Some families, depending on their situation, don't. You know, it's important to us to try to support our families and try to make sure the money is not the barrier.
You know, as someone who's written this into IEPs, I probably should know the answer to this. Does special education cover it when it's written into an IEP, or does it go through the family's health insurance?
At this time, the state of Iowa does not allow special education to be a mental health service written in. So it can be a support or related service, meaning that we can communicate and interact around that
That's why it's on
service.
the IEP under related services, and then it's covered. That's what I thought, but you guys, I've never asked.
Yeah, but it's not a service that the district would pay for if it's written into an IEP.
Right.
Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to follow up the conversation that we had at the last board meeting regarding the CIML realignment discussion. Activities Director Isgreg shared with you kind of the history relative to the discussions that have happened at the conference level, probably starting last November into December and January, for which eventually the activities or athletic directors voted, and it was not a unanimous vote, but it was a majority vote to move forward to the principals to vote on a realignment within the conference. And then when it went to the principals, the activities directors that actually tweaked the original proposal, which kind of strayed away from the original intent in creating the two divisions. It still required significant crossover play with the other conference in basketball, which was not favorable to certain districts within the conference, but it wound up passing by majority vote. And then it came to the superintendents, and when I met with the CML superintendents who would make up the new division that we would be a part of, it was very obvious to me that knowing that any changes that took place wouldn't happen for 2 years, because there needs to be a year lead time since the conference schedules out 2 years at a time, that anything short of just a clean separation of our districts from essentially the suburbans would be something less than what our districts desire. Many of the districts are looking for an opportunity to have a much more equitable and competitive playing field. The thing that really excites the superintendents of this new proposed conference is that we truly believe that every team, no matter who it is within this conference, should be able to week in and week out feel like they've got a legitimate chance to compete well and to potentially win, which is not the case and hasn't been the case within the existing conference for some time. They also like the idea of having a standalone conference that's truly a conference. One of the challenges with the most recent CIML arrangement is that you've always got two schools that are rotating in and out every 2 years, and so it's never the same 6 schools or what have within the conference. And so a lot of the discussion centered around the fact that the emphasis on conference has really been minimized or kind of eliminated, and everything's about state or what you do at the state level, which for many of us isn't, a common occurrence. I know we had one tonight with the bowling team, which was phenomenal, but the reality is we're a long ways away from that in some of our major sports, and we just feel like creating a new conference is our best bet to kind of regroup, rebuild, re-energize, hopefully increase participation, because kids as well as adults want to be part of something that has the potential to be successful. And this will give us that potential for sure at a conference level, as well as the other schools that are involved as well. So, as you are aware, the intent tonight was simply to share with you that our intent would be at the March 15th meeting to bring forward a proposal for your consideration to take action on that would essentially request your permission for our withdrawal from the CIML conference for the purpose of creating the new conference, which for no better term we've been calling the Big Ten, just because 10 high schools are involved and it kind of resembles the Big Eight that we used to be part of. The 5 Des Moines schools, and then Ames, Fort Dodge, Mason City, Marshalltown, and Ottumwa would make up that conference. The letter that I sent to all of the CIML, suburban and urban, last night had to wait until we had affirmation from all 6 superintendents. And Des Moines was the big one I was waiting on because they represent 5 high schools, and their yay or nay would make or break our ability to move forward in this way. And so last night at probably 7:45, I finally got the affirmation from Mr. Ahart, and so all of our districts are planning in the next 4 weeks, starting tonight, to introduce this to the board if it hasn't been already, and then to act on it. So I think 3 of the 6 districts meet the first and third Monday like we do, and the other 3 meet the second and fourth. So we would anticipate that by March 22nd, we should have all 6 school boards support for moving in this direction, and then we would pretty immediately follow, certainly by or before April 1st, submitting a letter of intent to withdraw with the idea that the new conference would start in the 2022-2023 school year. Many of the schools, including ourselves, are certainly not opposed in any way, shape, or form to scheduling non-conference against some of the suburban schools. In fact, in many of our programs, it makes a lot of sense to still do that, but we just don't want to be in a position where we have to do that regardless of what our circumstance is, because many of our programs are not well positioned to compete well with them on many different levels, whether it be on the varsity level or being able to field additional teams based on, the large numbers of participants that they have. And so I know one of their concerns is probably around scheduling and being able to find teams that are willing to play them. And in no way, shape, or form are we saying that we're not willing in many of the different activities, but there are teams within what will be the new conference that probably are in no way, shape, or form in a position to need or want to continue to do that. So that's been part of the issue. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions or comments. Unfortunately, somebody from the group that I sent the email to sent my letter to the media, to the Des Moines Register specifically, yesterday, which created a lot of buzz on social media and other things. But I will say that everything that I received, and I received messages throughout the day, text messages, emails, were very, very positive about this move on behalf of Marshalltown student athletes and the community.
Questions, Count?
Do you want a motion? Is this informational or motion?
Just informational. We'll present.
Next time.
Yeah, we'll present an action at the next one.
Thank you, Theron, for leading the charge and keeping the ball moving. Good job. And Ryan, good job to you too.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Rex?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's that time of year. Would like to continue with our bus rotation. This year, a little bit different, asking permission to purchase 2 buses with AC to use for our athletes and our sporting events. Ryan and I talked with other districts, and we would like to recommend to the board to go with the school bus sales, the 56 passenger, which is a bigger bus like our one we use currently on activities, and we'd have 2 big passenger bus, one with air, one without. And then our second one from Hoagland for the 44 passenger. And remember, these are with seat belts in them. That's why you have the fewer number of seats, because we go with the 36 versus a 39-inch seat to give more space per person, and it cuts down on our capacity. But also, this goes along with our continuing efforts for mitigation, because we're not sure on where that takes us down the road, but it would be a good addition for us to move forward with air conditioning. So we're looking at $223,600 for the 2 air-conditioned buses, a 44 and a 56 passenger.
Questions for Rex?
I asked a question of Theron over the weekend, I think it was over the weekend, about use of a local vendor, and I'm glad to see the local vendor's name on here, that we're buying a bus locally, so thank you.
Yep.
I like the fact that you're using seat belts, which should help the bus drivers a great deal.
It is. It's amazing what we're seeing. Now we're just going on video looking at kids. Most of them are staying seatbelted. The ones that don't, we're calling parents, and the issue's getting addressed. But it is the law. We have to have the seatbelts, and it is board policy that they are to wear them if they're on the bus.
May I have a motion to approve the purchase of 2 air-conditioned buses, a 44-passenger from Hoagland and a 56-passenger from school bus sales, in the total amount of $223,610.
Move for approval.
Second.
Miller, Hernandez, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy?
Hello.
Hello.
Tonight, I'm here to talk about E-rate again. So we have 2 more items that I would like your approval to move forward with. The first is the wide area network contract. We are currently in a contract with Windstream, and wide area network is basically just means the fiber in between buildings. You're paying for transport from the high school to all of our buildings. So that transport will be for 10 gigs to match the increase in internet, in our internet service provider, where we increase that to 8 gigs. So we just want to ensure that we have the capacity we need. So we chose the bigger bandwidth, Mike, Britt, and I did. And we already have a contract with Windstream, so basically what I'm asking for is that we can go ahead and increase the bandwidth to be able to match the capacity of the internet service provider.
Questions for Amy? May I have a motion to approve the recommendation of signing a 3-year contract with Windstream in the amount of $1,903.30?
So moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Faltus, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0.
I'm gonna run and pull the next one.
Okay.
Thank you. And there should, okay. So this, what's on the slide, there's actually another section to it. I do have that in news and notes. But I am asking here for something different. This is called Category 2 funding. So Category 1 is where the federal government agrees to pay 90%, it's based on free and reduced lunch numbers, of our monthly internet and transport costs. And then Category 2, they give us a certain pot of money also based on certified students. And that pot of money goes toward continuing to improve and upgrade your internet infrastructure. So we have a very large infrastructure due to the fact that we have 11 buildings. Therefore, we're on a replacement cycle. We've just started. This is our current wireless controllers are what's considered end of life. So they're no longer going to be able to be used to keep what we have going. So we need to upgrade the wireless controllers. And then we have several wireless access points, which actually are what your device is hooked to, that need to be replaced as well due to end of life or end of support, which is just as bad. It means they can't be updated for security purposes, and we can't get help if something drastic goes wrong. So we also have a few areas that we are utilizing in buildings that did not have coverage because we hadn't been as spread out as we're trying to be right now. So we're also replacing some of those access points. So what you see here is enterprise licensing for each one of those items. You see the controllers, which we have to have to power the entire access points and configure them. And then access points, as well as project installation. So this is part of the wireless equipment package that we would like to go with Heartland Business Systems. And then the other part is the remaining of the $376,000, and that is for wireless switches. So also those are going end of life. Those switches are those wiring closets where the access points go back to. So these are things that we need to do to upgrade our infrastructure. So all in total for Category 2, I'm asking for $376,281.07 to be paid out of Cat 2 money that we're allowed from the federal government, but we need to come up with 15% of that on our own. So what I'm asking you all for is $56,442.16 to be paid out of the general fund.
Questions for Amy?
Move for approval.
Seconded.
Motion has been made and seconded by Miller McGinnis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Ladies. pull up a chair. Pull up a chair.
You start? Okay, I'll start. All right, so we have a long presentation for you today because a lot's going on right now.
Okay, the fine arts updated schedule. So, for band on the 12th, there's a solo ensemble at 5, and then there's a spring concert on the 25th at 3, and then a jazz band concert at 6:30. And then for orchestra, there are also one more concert, sorry, at 7 on the and then one for choir at 7 on the 11th. All right, then we have some Bobcat exciting news for you today. Today, the high schoolers were told that the one-way hallways are no longer in effect. So you can go whichever way you please now, and they're really enjoying that. So then our ENRs were brought back. So Mondays and Fridays we've been having them. And it's a good time for students to get caught up on work and do their homework and whatever they need to do with any of their teachers. Teachers do pick them though. The students do not get to pick where they go right now. But maybe that will be coming soon. And then also Saturday school is available to students with failing grades or if they need help with work, just kind of like an ENR but a longer session. And they do offer breakfast if you do attend.
So, spring sports are starting today. Right now, so soccer and golf are starting up. And then today was the first day of track for boys and girls. So those are usually from like 3:30 to 5, depending on the sport. And then wrapping up winter sports, the varsity basketball cheerleaders, they had a really successful season and are really proud of how everybody has been staying safe and social distancing even through like this whole season.
Do you want me to do basketball? All right, then our girls basketball team, they came out of the season with 1 win and then they had 17 losses. And let's see, they lost their Saturday night game and it was 85-17 against Southeast Polk, and that was their last game. Then the boys basketball, they had a game on Friday. It was non-conference game and they played Waukee. And then they lost 54-48 as well. But their season outcome was 16 wins and 10 losses, so they had a pretty good season.
And then you guys already heard from from bowling, and they had a really good season, and we're very proud of them.
And that's all we have today.
Questions from the board? Thank you, ladies.
I've got a quick question. So how are things going with twice as many bodies in the high school?
It's an adjustment. It's a little weird to have such big classes, but I'm glad to see people that I haven't seen since last spring.
Like, I'm back this semester. I was online last semester, and I'm now in person. And the blue day, red day was definitely not a great option just because it was so confusing. But now that we're going every day to school, it's definitely been a lot easier. And, like, staying on that schedule has been a great adjustment.
Questions? From the board? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Questions? From the board? Thank you, ladies. 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 Questions? From the board? Thank you, ladies.
the high schoolers have been adjusting well to keeping up with social distancing. There really hasn't been any major problems, so that's good. Miss Wyant this morning did make an announcement to us that she was very impressed with how well we did adjust to it, and then the one-way hallways did kind of mess us up just because there were so many blocks, and going upstairs you can only go the one way, so there were so many kids going up and going down, and so, but that one way will help us out a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've only had about 3 meetings so far, and the focus of our meetings have been following a couple bills and talking about other issues going on in Iowa. So the biggest bill that we've been following has been the SF 2102 bill, which has been about applicant priority for the Teach Iowa Scholar Program. And we've been trying to get teachers of color as priority applicants. So we would increase the number of diversity among staff for teachers. This is a really big issue in Iowa since almost 92% of teachers throughout all districts in Iowa are white. So this would help a great deal, especially in a community like Marshalltown where a big population of the student body is diverse. As a student member, since we can't be hands-on in the legislative process, we kind of only observe, and we have our own side projects that we do. So as a member, I've been working on presentation/lesson on the different cultures in the district that I was gonna, when I'm done with, I was going to ask the principal if we could use an ENR to present to the student body. So that way we can appreciate the different cultures and make sure that as a student body, we're not overlooking these, differences in each other, and we're appreciating them.
How many students are sitting on that equity committee?
There's 7 of us chosen. I think 9.
Okay.
About 9.
And all the meetings are virtual right now?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What was the number for that Senate file that you've been watching?
SF 2102. Any other questions?
Well, I think it's awesome that you're sitting on that committee and that Marshalltown has representation there as one of the more diverse districts in the state. And I'm sure the board would love to hear your presentation too after you test run it with the students. Or if you want to test run it here, then you can run it by your classmates. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jamie Vollmer. For most of my professional life, I've worked to increase support for America's public schools, driven by my understanding that a vibrant, well-funded system of public education is essential for the health of our communities and our nation. Throughout this time, one of the most troubling statistics in my head is that approximately 70% of adult Americans, taxpayers and eligible voters, have no children in school. Many of these folks have developed a been there, done that attitude, epitomized by my neighbor, Bob. Bob is a nice guy, but raised the issue of supporting public schools, and he gets his back up and reels off a series of practice one-liners. I paid for my kids. I did my share. It's somebody else's turn. It's not my job anymore. Not surprisingly, when the district needs to ask the community for help, to pass a bond or a levy, or in some cases to approve a budget, Bob goes down to the voting booth, closes the curtain, and votes no. And actually, knowing Bob, he doesn't just vote no. He votes hell no, and feels pretty pleased with himself. First, let me make it clear that Bob's vote matters, as do the votes of all of us who no longer have kids in school. Researchers today have identified causal connections, not just correlations, between support for public schools and improving student outcomes. For example, economists have found that increases in per-pupil spending are associated with increases in a child's educational attainment and improved high school graduation rates. Now, this is not a small thing when you consider that those who graduate from high school earn 26% more than those who don't. And that return on the community's investment rises as a graduate advances. People with associate degrees earn, on average, 60% more. Those with bachelor's degrees earn 93% more. And a person with more than a bachelor's degree earns 114% more than someone who does not finish school. So it's pretty clear that if nothing else, Bob's support benefits the kids in the community. And that's what the educators always tell us. Support your schools. It's the right thing to do for these kids. But what about Bob? Sure, it's nice for him to know that he did something to help the kids, but come on, they're not his kids, maybe not even his grandkids. What's in it for all the Bobs? It turns out plenty. The first thing worth noting is that the crime rate declines. Greater educational attainment improves decision-making, which helps individuals stay out of trouble and out of jail. This makes Bob safer, and a lower incarceration rate reduces the amount of tax dollars required to fund the criminal justice system. That's a real benefit. Helping to increase student success also improves the overall health of the community. Better educated people as a group have healthier diets. They make smarter lifestyle choices. Their jobs afford them greater access to private health insurance, and therefore, they have less need to rely on taxpayer-funded public assistance. It turns out that on average, people who fail to finish high school consume $800 more per year in public health resources than a graduate. Over time, this pattern leads to higher taxes, and we all wind up paying more for our health insurance. Researchers at my beloved alma mater found that each additional graduate that Bob and his peers generates by virtue of their support saves the state, on average, $2,700 a year on a combined social assistant, health care, and criminal justice costs, while each additional dropout costs the public an additional $3,000+ each year. All these benefits directly impact Bob's pocketbook way beyond what the schools are asking for. But the benefits don't stop there. Bob is also the recipient of a host of proven soft benefits, so-called positive externalities, that flow from supporting your schools. For example, communities that support their public schools are ranked higher on almost every indicator of social and economic well-being. They have greater social cohesion, lower divorce rates and more stable families, higher levels of charitable giving, higher voter participation, higher property values, and greater involvement in religious and civic activities. In aggregate, these combined hard and soft benefits lead to one conclusion. Our lives are better when we support our public schools. Now, I get it that people feel overtaxed. Some folks are upset that schools don't look like they used to, and they don't understand why. And there is a widespread antipathy towards all things associated with the government. But when Bob votes no, he's hurting himself. Every aspect of his quality of life is connected to and influenced by the quality of his local public schools. This is true even if you haven't had a kid in the system in decades. Supporting your public schools is the right thing to do for kids, and it's the smart thing to do for yourself. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again.
Comments? I think we all know Bob, or a Bob.
Yes.
I really like that graph, the earnings and educational attainment. That should be shared out. That's very powerful.
Well, and I think for the Bobs of the world, the information about how much less money well-educated people use in public services compared to poorly educated people. I'd like to see the breakdown on that. That was interesting.
Okay, Paulette, over to you.
All right, so as part of our certified budget process, we're asking the board to consider and recommend the budget guarantee resolution for the fiscal '22 school year. And the supplemental state aid increase was set at 2.4% for next year. But we have declining enrollment, and that 2.4% is not enough to offset that decline in enrollment. So as with 2 years ago, we will be on a budget guarantee for next year. This mechanism kicks in and is funded by property taxes. And so we are recommending to the board that they levy the property tax for fiscal '22 for the regular program budget adjustment as allowed under Iowa code.
Questions for Paulette?
Do you know how many students we're short of that break-even tipping point of where the 2.4% would have been more than the 101% of the budget guarantee?
Not right off the top of my head, no. We would have had to have a 2.75% increase in SSA to not be on the budget guarantee.
375? 3 or 2?
275. Our amount for the budget guarantee this time around is $103,000, so it's a little bit less than 2 years ago when it was like $260,000.
Other questions? May I have a motion to approve the budget adjustment resolution for the 21-22 fiscal year?
So moved.
Seconded.
Heitman, McGinnis, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries 6-0. Is Todd doing this?
Okay, it is on. All right, I've got a resolution bringing towards the Tyranny intercom system project for Lenahan Intermediate. The current system we have in that building, Bogan intercom system, is not a very reliable intercom that we've had in there. I've had issues with it for many years. This new system we're looking to propose and to install in the building would actually get us coverage in all the classrooms. Currently, right now, if you page certain rooms, you might get multiple rooms. It would also upgrade all the wiring, and they're looking at a video portion of it also to help that could assist us with virtual learning as well in the future. Right now, this is just letting you be aware that we've been looking at this and tentatively bringing projects to you for the 15th for an approval on that.
Total cost projected?
Total projected cost right now is, it was $273,520. That would take care of the demolition of the antiquated system that's currently there, installation of the new, which would cover 46 classrooms, also many of the common spaces like cafeteria, gymnasium, outside. It would give us a new server and console to run the system. One nice thing, we was looking at this system, there's additional add-ons that we could do in the future. You could connect a lot of your projectors. It essentially kind of is like the light speed systems we've put in many of the elementaries. So it gives you more of that almost like surround sound volume level in the classroom. So it's much easier to hear. They're really nice systems. Also, like the main office, they'll have a display that would show there. Let's say like in some of our, if a teacher had an issue or a problem, her mic fob could actually contact the office hands-free. If that incident moved throughout the building, they could actually see where they were going and follow in order to be able to send assistance.
Questions for Todd?
So the teacher's carrying a fob and that's where the mic is?
Yes.
Interesting.
Did you say it had like GPS-like features?
Well, I think it's almost like a Bluetooth like link up to the system, so it can actually track you as you moved around.
Is it Bluetooth or is it Wi-Fi?
It actually all ties back in. I think the unit itself is Bluetooth with the actual unit in the room, but a lot of the new, we'll upgrade some of the switches, everything will be hardwired into its own server, which controls all of it, and then your software.
And this has so the teacher's got the mic and it's giving the sound so the kids in the back can hear much more easily.
Yeah, it almost creates like a simulated surround sound in the classroom, similar to those in-light sound systems we did in all the elementaries.
Yeah, the intent for the audio is to provide equitable sound across the room, and then this has video capabilities, so if there's a need to broadcast the class, whether it be for students that are home or what have, that can happen. And the intercom system has been part of our long-range facilities improvement plan for some time. So it's nice that we're able to kind of dovetail accomplish two things at the same time. Our hopes are that we'll be able to fund this with ESSER funds, but we're still waiting on the Department of Education to give their final guidance, which as of late, it looks like we'll have by the end of this week, hopefully, to make sure we know what's permissible or not permissible expenditures. But I've had some informal conversation with them ahead of time, and they felt fairly confident without going on the record that this would work. But we need to get the ball rolling on this in order to be positioned to be able to do this as a summer project.
Other questions, comments? Does the public hearing have to be a separate motion?
No, so this resolution would be tentatively approving the plans and specs, setting the public hearing for March 15th at 5 o'clock, and giving me permission to publish the notice of public hearing and letting bids for the project.
May I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Miller, Faltus, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to policies.
So we have two policies that were presented to you in review at the last meeting, 301.2, which is now numbered 302.2, Superintendent of Schools contract and contract non-renewal. We updated that particular policy to accurately reflect the law and mirror ISB policy. There's been no changes since that was presented to you. And then also 507.2E2, exhibit on parent authorization and release form for the administration of medication to students. That was a policy I think that we were lacking, so we took the IASB sample and made some adjustments to that. But nothing has changed since that was presented to you February 15th. So I would recommend board approval and waive the second reading.
May I have a motion to amend 301.2 and adopt 507.2E2 and waive the second reading?
So moved.
Heitman, Hernandez, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. The policies that I had this time are needing, a couple of them are going to be marked as reviewed, but a couple of them need to be totally revised and what we have thrown out, and IASB policies placed in their place. The superintendent duties, 302.4. Will replace 301.3, and the 302.5 will replace 301.4. So those new policies will need to come back at the next meeting. Are there any questions on those at this time? May I have a motion to delete 301.3 and 301.4?
So moved.
Second.
Heitman, Faltus, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And I would recommend that 301.4E, which will replace 302.5E1, be marked as reviewed. It's just a policy number change. That's the formal evaluation of the superintendent. I would also recommend that 301.4R replace 302.5E1, which is also just a policy number. Are there any questions about those two policies? Is there any disagreement in marking them as reviewed? Okay, thank you. Wow, went through those in a hurry. See how fast we did that, Mike?
You were almost as good as Sean. You knew that was coming, though.
Mr. Sodders.
Hello again. So I have a couple of bigger items I wanted to share tonight. So one of them, the Marshalltown Virtual Academy. promotional push that we've been doing has gone very well. So as far as our advertising goes for this first phase, we had an ad run in the TR, a fairly large one, a 10 by 5-inch ad. And it would have just, I don't know if any of you get the TR or read it on a regular basis, but you probably would have seen it. It also ran on their digital platforms as well and in their weekly newsletter. So that was pretty good coverage here. And it would have also hit both the Saturday before last and this last Saturday. Those are the highest traffic days typically for readership and that sort of thing. So it would have gotten in front of the most eyeballs possible. And the other big promotional advertising push that we did with that was a Facebook ad. That runs through today for the first push. We're going to update the ad for enrollment deadline for folks here in the district. And so we'll be continuing with that. So far, that's reached 4,600 people, and it's generated 141 link clicks. So that's nearly 150 people that actually engaged with the post and looked further into it, which is a good sign. That's what we want. In addition, we also had some good news coverage both in the Des Moines market through Channel 5 and here locally. The TR has done a couple stories on it, so that's been going well. And the other update would be on the audit. So we're coming up on that March 12th end of the first phase, and I am closing in on the focus groups. I have them all listed out, and I had a piece of paper with all the groups, but for the internal groups, we are looking at, or at least so far the ones that I've discussed with community partners have been high school students, middle school students, building administrators, secretarial and support staff, including paraeducators, and teachers. So those are, I think that's a pretty good smattering of our internal stakeholder groups. And then, of course, in the external groups, we have small businesses, large industry leaders, parents, young parents, so people in their 20s and 30s who may be just looking to bring their children into the public school system for the first time. And, boy, I'm going to forget the last two. But so we're continuing to look for leaders within those focus groups and identify about 10 to 15 people for each to potentially come to the virtual focus groups here this spring. So, and I will email you all a comprehensive list of the focus groups that we have so far. I'm sorry I'm blanking on the last two. Do you have any questions for me about any of that or anything else?
Make sure Bob's on one of the focus groups.
Make sure Bob is? All right.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The Benefits Advisory Committee met last Wednesday. Mike and Sean and Paulette and Theron were there. Who would like to take a stab at?
Paulette might be as well positioned as anyone.
Go ahead, well-positioned.
Sure. So Brenda from Mark Becker and Associates spoke to the group for about an hour and a half regarding our current trends, and also went into detail on some proposed small incremental changes that could be made for our group for the upcoming year. I think that about covers it.
Okay. Anything else from other attendees?
I think, that part of their presentation was validating that, continuing to validate the decisions that we've made have been working in terms of moving things in a positive direction, but, they continue to emphasize the need to make, at a minimum, small incremental adjustments in order to make sure that it keeps moving in the right trajectory.
Looking ahead to reminders, the Finance Audit Committee meets on Thursday. You've all been registered for the National School Board Association Virtual Conference. You should have received information regarding that. School Improvement Advisory Committee, SIAC, meets at the end of March. Nico and Karina are on that committee. The LAO committee meets at the end of May. Nico and Jan are on that one. The Auditorium Foundation meets in April. And Sarah has the 2 policies for next week, or next meeting, 2 weeks from now. Our next board meeting is March 15th. And I also want to take a minute to remind everyone on the board that if you have questions regarding curriculum or anything that the community raises a question for you, Dr. Schutte or the board leadership is your direct contact. It is not necessary, or you should not be contacting the directors. They take their instruction from Theron. So I would say to all of the directors, if you receive questions, comments, or requests from board members, that you refer that to Dr. Schutte so that he can visit with me, Sean, and make sure that we in turn understand the need of the board member. Many times, a board member could ask a question to a director, and it might be something that other people on the board want to know as well. So it needs to be presented as a question from the board and not an individual board member. Do any of the board members have questions? Directors, do you have any questions? Okay.
I do want to, there's a reminder, add to the reminder, next week it's equity committee, it was moved, so it's on March.
Pardon me?
The equity committee was moved.
Yeah,
So it's next week,
March 10th at
March 10th.
4:15.
4:15.
Okay, and you and who else are on that?
On.
Okay. What have we done tonight to make education great for Marshalltown students?
Putting this new system into Lenahan with the sound, that's just huge. When you have those speakers in the back of the room, it really helps those kids. I think that's a good thing.
I think the technology that we continue to replace and stay up to date, I think all of that, expanding the coverage areas within the buildings with kids more spread out, all of those things are big things that we've continued to do. We got some air-conditioned buses coming, so softball and baseball trips will be more comfortable now.
So now more people will volunteer to go as chaperones?
I think it's great that we're talking about outfitting school buses instead of just worrying about paying for charters.
Yeah.
As we did for many years, you know.
Yeah. Some of you were not on the board when it was a huge expense. Huge. I needed some humor in my life these last couple of weeks, so that's where my thoughts went in getting a quote for this evening. It comes from Phyllis Diller. Some of you are probably not old enough to know who Phyllis Diller is, but she was quite a comedian. She says, "Always be nice to your children, because they are the ones who will choose your rest home." May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Heitman, Hernandez, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. We are adjourned at 6:20.